Excuses are the silent thieves of potential. Excuses are not loud. They don't knock at your door. They don't shout. They don't demand attention. And they don't fight for space in your life. Instead, they slip in quietly, almost gently, and sit in the corners of your mind where they soften your ambition and weaken your intentions. Excuses are silent thieves, stealing potential in small, unnoticed moments. Moments so small that people rarely realize what's happening until months, or sometimes years, have passed. No one wakes up one day suddenly unsuccessful. Life doesn't collapse in one night. Dreams don't disappear instantly. What happens is far more subtle. People lose their future one excuse at a time. I'll start when I feel ready. This isn't the perfect moment. It's too hard. I'm not sure I can do it. These small phrases feel harmless, even logical, but these tiny excuses accumulate, stack up, and eventually turn into a lifestyle, and that lifestyle silently robs you of your greatness. The painful truth is that excuses often dress themselves as reasons. They disguise themselves as justified thinking, and because they sound so reasonable, people accept them. But accepting excuses means rejecting growth. You can't hold on to excuses and rise at the same time. One will always replace the other. What makes excuses so dangerous is that they protect your comfort but destroy your future. They let you stay where you are, but they never allow you to become who you can be. Excuses whisper, stay safe, but greatness whispers, move forward. And you can only listen to one voice at a time. Think about it. Every time you avoided a challenge, wasn't the excuse right there waiting? Every time you didn't apply for that job, didn't start that habit, didn't pursue that dream, wasn't an excuse standing in front of you like a shield? Excuses promise safety, but deliver regret. They promise relief, but deliver stagnation. They promise comfort, but deliver a life that never expands. And deep inside, people know this. That's why excuses feel good in the moment, but heavy later. They ease the pressure temporarily, but they increase the frustration in the long run. And the longer you tolerate excuses, the more they shape your identity. Excuses don't just weaken actions, they weaken character. They train you to settle, to accept less, to believe less, and to expect less. But the moment you finally recognize how excuses are silently limiting your life, you begin to take back your power. The moment you become allergic to excuses, a true emotional reaction to anything that sounds like justification, you start forcing yourself into growth. And growth is where destiny begins to shift. Your life transforms the moment you take full ownership. There is a turning point in every powerful life, a moment when people stop blaming, stop waiting, stop hoping someone will rescue them, stop expecting things to change without their own involvement. That turning point is called ownership, and once you adopt it, excuses immediately lose their grip on you. Ownership creates transformation because it removes the escape routes. When you take full responsibility, you no longer look for someone to save you. You no longer wait for the perfect situation. You no longer rely on luck, timing, or circumstances. You realize something far more empowering. Your life is shaped by your decisions, not by your conditions. Most people avoid ownership because it's heavy. It forces you to admit that your results are connected to your habits, your discipline, and your choices. But that same heaviness is where power lives. Ownership feels uncomfortable at first, but liberating later. It takes courage to say, if I am not where I want to be, I had a role in that. But it takes even greater courage to say, because I had a role in it, I also have the power to change it. When you take ownership, your entire mindset shifts. You stop saying, I can't, and you start asking, how can I? You stop believing that life is happening to you, and you begin to act as someone who shapes their own direction. Ownership turns victims into leaders. Ownership turns uncertainty into strategy. Ownership turns excuses into action. And the beautiful part? Ownership makes excuses disappear naturally, not because you try to avoid them, but because you no longer need them. When you own your life, excuses feel like poison, something your mind refuses to accept. This is the moment your transformation truly begins. Discipline begins where excuses end. Discipline is not born in comfort. It is born in friction. In those moments when your mind whispers one thing but your future needs another. Discipline begins exactly where excuses try to take control. Every time you feel like skipping the work, every time you feel like postponing the habit, every time you feel like delaying the action, that is the moment discipline is being tested, shaped, and strengthened. Most people misunderstand discipline. They think it is about being perfect or being naturally strong. But discipline has nothing to do with perfection. It has everything to do with persistence. Discipline is the ability to keep going when motivation disappears, when emotions fluctuate, when comfort becomes tempting, and when the path feels uncertain. People often tell themselves, "I'm not disciplined," but that is not true. Everyone has discipline, they just direct it toward the wrong areas. You are disciplined at repeating old habits. You are disciplined at checking your phone. You are disciplined at avoiding discomfort. You are disciplined at staying in the same patterns. This means discipline is already inside you. It simply needs to be redirected toward the life you want, not the life you're settling for. Excuses and discipline cannot coexist. When excuses lead, discipline dies. But when discipline leads, excuses fade. The moment you stop allowing excuses to rule your decisions, you create space for discipline to grow. Discipline is the foundation of every transformation you admire. It is the hidden engine behind success, the unseen force behind breakthroughs, and the quiet strength behind consistent progress. Successful people don't rely on feeling ready. They rely on showing up. They don't wait for the right moment. They create it. They don't depend on ideal conditions. They depend on their own commitment. Discipline is not just a behavior. It becomes an identity. When you see yourself as someone who follows through, your confidence grows. When you see yourself as someone who honors their own word, self-respect rises. When you see yourself as someone who completes what they start, your future begins to change. This is why the moment you cut off excuses, discipline becomes easier. Excuses are emotional. Discipline is strategic. Excuses are temporary comfort. Discipline is long-term freedom. Life will always give you reasons to delay. Your mind will always create arguments for comfort, but greatness requires you to push past those arguments. It requires you to show up on the days you don't feel like it. It requires you to follow through on commitments even when no one is watching. Discipline makes you dependable to yourself, and when you become dependable to yourself, everything in your life elevates. Your future expands when you stop protecting your limitations. Every person has limitations, but not everyone protects them. Some people defend their limitations so fiercely that they turn them into truth. They say, "I'm not confident enough. I'm not talented enough. I don't have time. I don't have the right background. I'm not good at this." These statements feel like honest explanations, but they are actually shields that keep you from stepping into your potential. When you protect your limitations, you allow your past to dictate your future. You allow your struggles to define your identity. You allow your fears to shape your decisions. Protecting limitations creates a smaller life. It shrinks your opportunities, narrows your vision, and reduces your possibilities. The more you defend your limitations, the more real they become. They grow roots. They settle into your mind. They convince you that change is impossible. And slowly, without realizing it, you start adjusting your dreams to fit your excuses instead of adjusting your behavior to fit your goals. But the moment you stop protecting your limitations, something powerful happens. Your future begins to expand. Because once you stop defending the reasons you can't, you create space to explore the ways you can. Limitations lose power when you stop giving them a voice. They stop controlling your thoughts when you stop repeating them as truth. And as those mental barriers weaken, new possibilities begin to appear. People often don't lack potential. They lack permission. Permission to grow, permission to try, permission to fail, permission to outgrow who they used to be. When you stop protecting your limitations, you start giving yourself permission to evolve. You begin challenging your own beliefs. You begin testing your own boundaries. You begin taking actions that were once unimaginable. Your future doesn't expand through luck. It expands through courage. Courage to question the old stories you've told yourself. Courage to step beyond the comfort of excuses. Courage to see yourself as capable even when your past says otherwise. The moment you stop defending your limits is the moment you start discovering your power. Excuse-free living creates momentum, confidence, and self-respect. Momentum is one of the greatest forces in personal growth, and it begins with a simple pattern: choosing action over excuses again and again. Most people underestimate how powerful momentum truly is. You don't need massive change to transform your life. You need consistent movement. A little progress repeated daily becomes a wave that eventually becomes unstoppable. But excuses destroy momentum before it even has a chance to form. They break the flow, they interrupt the rhythm, they force you to restart again and again, which drains your energy and erodes your belief in yourself. When you live without excuses, even small actions begin to compound. A few minutes of reading, a short workout, a bit of learning, one disciplined decision, these moments start stacking. Each one builds on the next. And suddenly you feel yourself moving forward. You feel the shift. You feel the difference. You begin to see that progress is not luck. It is built through tiny, repeated acts of discipline. Confidence is also born in this place. Confidence does not come from talking about goals. It does not come from wishing for a better future. It comes from doing the work consistently. When you follow through on your commitments, even the small ones, you begin to trust yourself. Confidence is the result of self-trust, and self-trust is built by keeping promises you make to yourself. One promise kept leads to another, and before you know it, you begin to behave like someone who believes in their own ability to change. Self-respect rises the same way. You cannot respect yourself fully when you constantly negotiate with your excuses. Deep inside, you know when you're not giving your best. You know when you're settling. You know when you're hiding behind reasons that sound reasonable but limit your potential. But the moment you choose responsibility over excuses, your self-respect rises. You look in the mirror and see someone who acts, not someone who hides. You see someone who leads their life, not someone who reacts to it. A person who does the work gains a level of self-respect that no one can take away. Excuse-free living builds internal strength. It builds mental toughness. It builds a quieter, deeper confidence that doesn't need to be shown off because it exists from within. And that internal shift reflects outwardly in your actions, habits, relationships, and results. Momentum grows, confidence grows, self-respect grows, and your future begins to expand in ways you never imagined. Your destiny is built by choices, not circumstances. The greatest lie people tell themselves is that their circumstances decide their future. Circumstances can influence you, shape you, challenge you, delay you, and stretch you, but they do not determine your destiny. Your destiny is shaped by choices: the choice to act, the choice to learn, the choice to rise, the choice to start, and above all, the choice to stop giving excuses a place in your life. Circumstances can be unfair, unpredictable, and uncomfortable, but choices are something you always control. Every day you wake up with the ability to decide who you want to become. Every day you choose whether you will repeat the past or rewrite the future. And the people who rise are not the ones with perfect conditions. They are the ones who make powerful decisions in imperfect conditions. The moment you become allergic to excuses, you strip away everything that has been slowing you down. You remove the mental blocks, you silence the internal stories, you stop defending your limitations, and suddenly your choices begin aligning with your vision instead of your fears. You start choosing discipline over delay. You start choosing effort over comfort. You start choosing growth over stagnation. You begin to create a life that reflects your potential, not your excuses. This is where your destiny shifts, not 10 years from now, not when life becomes easier, not when everything is perfect. It shifts the moment you decide that excuses no longer have a home in your life. From that moment forward, you become a different kind of person. A person who acts despite discomfort, a person who shows up when it's inconvenient, a person who honors commitments, a person who leads themselves with strength and intention. Your destiny is built by the choices you make repeatedly, and your most powerful choice begins when you say, "No more excuses." That decision changes your identity. That identity changes your habits. Those habits change your results. And those results eventually change your entire life. Your future self is waiting for you on the other side of discipline. Your best life is waiting on the other side of responsibility. Your breakthrough is waiting on the other side of courage. But the doorway to all of it opens the moment you eliminate excuses from your life. This is your moment to rise. This is your moment to lead yourself. This is your moment to transform your direction. Your destiny changes the moment you change. And it begins right now with one simple commitment: no more excuses.